Welcome. I'm your host, Dustin, and today we're diving into another movie review. I've been trying to get as much current movies that are going out in the theaters reviews because I've been kind of slacking on that this year. I've been focusing a lot more on interviews and all my Screenbox coverage, but there's been some movies that I definitely needed to make sure I got a review out and hit on, and the one we're talking about today is one that definitely needs to be talked about because it's been like 15 years or something like that in the quote unquote making, which is astonishing that it was even made. And we're going to be talking about the 2023 Eli Roth movie Thanksgiving. Ever since that Grindhouse trailer came out way back in the early 2000s, that everybody was like, "Wow, I really, really want to see this film." I thought the aesthetic of that was really, really cool. How it really went back into like the 70s and 80s like style filming and everything. And I was really, really hoping that we were going to get some of that in this movie, but we'll dive into that in a minute. Before we start jumping into all that, I want to let you guys know what's going on in the next couple of weeks here in person and what's going on in the show. So this week, on Thursday, I have the screening of The Mean One at Cinema Salem in Salem, Massachusetts. And by the time this comes out for Patreons, there's still a 50% off all ticket purchases if you just use the code The Mean One, all one word. If you do that, you get 50% off all your tickets. You get to meet the director and producer of the film, and there's going to be signed posters and a bunch of other really cool The Mean One merch there. And that's going to be happening from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. this Thursday, November 30th. And then the following week on December 7th, the final show of the year that's going to be taking place at Cinema Salem in Salem, Massachusetts, is the screening of Symphony, a Clubhouse horror anthology where a lot of the writers and directors of that is going to be in person, and I'm really excited for that. And there's also a very early Cyber Monday deal going on from now all the way until this Thursday, which is the day of the Mean One. And if you just use the code Symphony, you get 50% off all tickets. Doesn't matter how many you purchase at a time, you get 50% off every single ticket that you buy. So these are some really, really cool things that are going on. And with the Symphony one, we're going to be raffling off a huge size poster with it being signed by everybody who's attending. And whoever wins that raffle, you get to take that home. And any money that gets pulled into the raffle is going to be going towards their next project and whatever they have coming on next. So I'm really, really excited to do that for them and to also be here with everybody and to let you talk to the filmmakers and see everybody there, because there's going to be a Q&A where you guys can join in. It will be recorded for the show like all my past ones this year. Some really, really, really cool things, and all the links for these tickets will be down below, and I'll also make sure to add the discount code for each one so you guys know what's going on. But now, going back to Thanksgiving. Before we jump into anything, let me read you the synopsis. I'll tell you who's in it. We'll even go over some of the scores so you guys can see where this is landing if you haven't seen it already. So the synopsis is, after a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts. Hey, I'm from Massachusetts, the birthplace of the infamous holiday. And I am very sure that this was filmed in Massachusetts. Obviously, it was directed by Eli Roth. Writers, which I'm pretty sure was Eli himself, and Jeff Randall, who also helped write the screenplay. And we have Patrick Dempsey, Ty Olson, Gina Gershon, Jabral Davenport, Karen Klisch, Rick Hoffman. Let me see some of the actual main characters. Jalen Thomas Brooks. We have Addison Rae, which, I have comments on that, but I'll withhold them to myself. Tim Dillon, Chris Sandiford, Tommaso Sinali, Jenna Warren, and a bunch of other ones that are in here that aren't too important. There's a big cast for this, and the IMDb score is a 7 out of 10 with 7,000 plus ratings. Which, okay, it's not awful. Now let's make our way over to Rotten Tomatoes and see if there's any other synopsis on here, because sometimes I like to add different ones, and it seems like we do. And their synopsis is: after a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts, essentially the same thing, the birthplace of the holiday, picking off residents one by one. What begins as random revenge killings are soon revealed to be part of a larger sinister holiday plan. Will the town uncover the killer and survive the holidays, or become guests as this twisted holiday dinner table? Budget for this was 10.3 million. It's an hour and 47 minutes, and it was released in theaters November 17th, which is pretty good time frame. I think originally, they were trying to plan for an October release, but I think they settled on a November one, which makes more sense. But I guess now we can start kind of diving into Thanksgiving 2023. So let's go over my initial thoughts on this real quick. What was I expecting going into this? I saw one trailer, obviously besides the Grindhouse trailer, which has some things that made it into the full-length movie that we have, and also some things that were kind of thrown away. But I saw the first trailer that was released, and I thought, wow, this actually looks like it's going to be pretty damn brutal. And I was really, really hoping for a very brutal Eli Roth film. You know, this is essentially his comeback to horror. Because as you guys know, he kind of went, took a seat back, and like he directed other things, but it wasn't exactly horror. Like he did A Clock in Its Walls, which was more like a family-friendly film, I think. And then some other films. Like, let's actually go and see what was he doing as of late. Wow, a lot of like executive stuff. He did a lot more executive producers and producer type things. Oh, that's right, he was a producer on Haunt 2019. But like, this is his full, like, I'm coming back, I'm writing and I'm directing a horror film. And I'm happy to see him back in the genre. I'm not gonna put that off, because I thought his storytelling in some of his films were pretty brutal, especially when you go back to Cabin Fever or Hostel. Cabin Fever really got me when I was younger, of being like, wow, could this really happen if I went away with friends and got this like flesh-eating disease that started killing all my friends? And then you get to Hostel, it's like, well, now I'm kind of afraid to travel. Like, I don't want to go and travel and stay at a hostel and then get killed. I know that's a little like exaggerated, but it does happen. I would imagine there's definitely some places in the world where people get kidnapped and killed like that. But dialing it back to the current movie at hand, what were my actual overall thoughts? What was I expecting? What did I want for this? So like I said, I wanted brutal kills. I wanted good storytelling. And I did kind of get a sense that it was going to be kind of like a Scream knockoff, like a whodunit type film. But I was kind of hoping we weren't going to go through that. It was actually going to be a straightforward slasher. We're not having to guess who's doing this. It was just a senseless, killer out there just doing things, or a vengeful spirit, if you will. I'm going to try not to go into spoilers right now, but I will in a few minutes. So I was really hoping more straightforward, really good kills, which there were, and I do have to praise this film for being pretty practical in almost every aspect of this film, and there were some pretty good kills in it. We had the trampoline scene, which everybody knew that was going to be coming back, and everybody was hoping it was going to be coming back. We had a burn somebody alive in a oven, which I thought was pretty crazy. And some other pretty cool kills. And I guess another thing I was really hoping for was strong characters. I really wanted, if we're going to be having like Patrick Dempsey and some of these other like hard-hitting actors in it, especially the influencer Addison Rae, that we were going to have some pretty good acting, storytelling, characters, and stuff like that. And we kind of did, but kind of didn't. But my first initial thoughts was like, okay, I had a pretty good theater going experience. And I did. After, seeing it, talking to my friend about it, because we went to go see it together. And we're like, did we enjoy this? Was this a film that we enjoyed? And yes, overall, it was really good. But then when I started thinking about it a little bit more and really diving into it, and even reading a couple like reviews online or what people are saying about it, I was, you know what? I'm kind of aligning with some of these people are saying, but overall, I still think I had a really good theater going experience. So before I start jumping into any kind of spoilers or plot points, I want to say make sure you go see this. Support horror on any scale, especially with this being Eli's like comeback to horror. We want to show him that, hey man, we kind of want you back. We want your storytelling back a little bit. So come bring us some pretty hard-hitting stuff. But yeah, some overall thoughts, and now we're going to go right into spoilers. So as I was saying before, the characters, right? I was really, really hoping we were going to have some hard-hitting characters, but unfortunately, they all kind of fell flat for me when it came to them. Let me pull up some of the people that I can name. That I was like, whatever. So we have, well, there is one guy that I was really, really hoping was going to make it all the way through. But we have Doug, Gabby, Evan, Eula, Lonnie, Bobby, and who's the other one? And then we have Patrick Dempsey as Sheriff Eric. And then we have Mitch, who kind of plays a big part. And we have Scuba, who he was pretty cool. I enjoyed his character a lot. Lizzie, Amy. I think that's pretty much. Oh, we have Ryan. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. But like, what a movie like this, how it starts off is, you're gonna knock on the door and it's family dinner. It's kind of like a false thing, a false start or whatnot. And I'll get back to that in a minute. I have my thoughts on the opening scene of this. But, you have the family dinner and then, the company where one of the... See, I don't even remember whose parents it was or whose character it was because they're so throwaway for me. But it's the main girl and her parent, her father, who got remarried, and I guess their mother passed away. And... Mitch, who works for the father, has to go and open up the store on Black Friday. Even though it's on Thanksgiving, they opened up a day early. And we cut to the store, and you have the group of friends who are going to see a movie, but then they have to take a sidetrack because they want to get a new phone, which is like, really? I don't understand that. I mean, it's modern day. People break things. They want to get something right away. But they have the ins and outs because of the main character who, father runs the store, can go in and out whenever they want. So they go there, and there's a big crowd. You're like, oh boy, this is going to be crazy. I know where this is going. So they eventually get to the point where they're going to open up, and people are there who probably shouldn't be there. And, tramplings start happening. And, Evan, one of the main guys, is filming the whole thing. Then it gets put online, and then things start going haywire. And then we kind of get an introduction to this killer, who is pretty cool. I thought the aesthetic was really, really nice, and the use of the mask, which you see earlier in the film at a diner that they're giving these away, which is where I think the first kill essentially happens that we see, is that he's kind of doubling back to people who were part of the stampede, where people have died, to kind of take vengeance upon this town. And we get a really cool face frozen to the freezer, and then wants to chop it off, but then she rips it off, and you get some really cool practical effects. So that kind of happens, and then throughout the film, we have the main group guessing, oh my god, is it him? Is it him? And at the time, the main character was dating this boy named Bobby, and the movie really starts to get you to think it's Bobby. It has to be Bobby. And they do that a few times in this film where they're like, no, it's this guy. And then it's like her new boyfriend, Ryan. It's like, oh, it's this guy. But you start to realize, like, all right, these are so blatantly obvious that these aren't the killers, because I've seen so many whodunit films. Scream has done it to death. So I really started to think back, all right, who could it really be? And I finally nailed it, and I was right at the end. I was very, very right. But we get these really cool killings, and I'm just going to fast forward because there's a lot of things that happen like in the middle that you can kind of just like throw away if you want. But there are a couple cool suspenseful scenes. But I want to jump towards the end where things start really amping up a little bit. Is the chase when we find out, or quote unquote find out, that it's Bobby when it's not. It's a setup, and then we find out that it is in fact the officer. It is Patrick Dempsey, and I fucking knew it. So there's like a really cool family dinner scene where the person gets burnt alive, and it's essentially turkey carving, which is a really nice carving scene that I really enjoyed, and I thought that came out really, really cool. And then we kind of run away, and we get to the very last scene of the main character and Patrick Dempsey in the police station alone, and she finds out and then records him, and then all this other things happen. So overall, this film was really, really fun. I did enjoy it, even though the characters were very throwaway for me. And some of the, I guess, like, guiding you in the wrong way is so overly done in these kind of whodunit films. There has to be a new way of getting you to believe these films when they really try to point you in that direction, in my honest opinion, because I'm so tired of going into these movies and them be like, it's this person, but they make it so obvious that it's not. I want a movie that's going to make me really believe the film and be like, I am dead set that it is this guy. I want it. I think it's just because it's so on the nose in this film that it's pretty crazy. But overall, like I said, very, very fun theater going experience. Practical effects were amazing. The writing was okay. It was definitely modernized, where there was some things in it just like, all right, we've heard that enough, or whatever. Okay, we're using our phones and social media. It's like, okay, I get it. But it was fun. It was very, very fun. And I want to know what your thoughts are before I give you my final rating and thoughts on it. Did you enjoy this film? Will you see it again? Are you waiting for it to come to digital or physical? Are you one of those people who waits for it to come out of the theater? I personally like to go to the theater to support it in that way as much as possible, and to see it on the big screen, see it the way it is intended. But let me know down below if you did see it. What's your rating on it? Was there something in it that you wish they would have done? Is there something in it that you're disappointed that they didn't do from the original Grindhouse trailer? Let me know down below, because I honestly thought this was really fun regardless of all the other things I said. So going on to my personal rating of this film, with it being as hyped up as it is, for there being this already established trailer, all will be carved. I'm going to have to give this a 7 out of 10, because there's a lot of things in it that have already been done. I mean, yeah, it's a different setting. It's in a place very close to me, where I live, and it's on Thanksgiving, which we don't really have a lot of Thanksgiving horror movies, and stuff like Blood Rage and maybe a couple other films, but Blood Rage is the first one that comes to my mind. I thought this was a above average film. Could have been more with some of the writing, maybe not as many characters. Maybe that could have been better. But 7 out of 10, and I say go see this if you can. Watch it in theaters before it leaves, and then watch it again once it comes to digital, because I'm going to give it another rewatch when it comes out. Maybe something will grab me a little bit more and be like, okay, you know what? I might bump this up like a 0.5 or something like that. But as of right now, 7 out of 10. Let me know in the comments or wherever you're watching and or listening to this. Let me know what your thoughts are on this film, and I will see everybody on the next one. Thank you guys so much for being here. And like I said, ticket links will be down below for the upcoming live shows that I am doing in Salem, Massachusetts at Cinema Salem. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.